The bearings are basically elements used to avoid friction in between two rotating parts. There are elements used to avoid friction in between two parts. And there are different types of bearings. There are bearings, ball bearings. The most common bearing is the ball bearing. This one, and those type of bearings are excellent for radial loads. The ball bearings are excellent for radial loads. There are different types of bearings. This is the most common, the ball bearings. And there are other bearings like this one, roller bearings. And there are other ones like these ones. Those are plain bearings. But there are other ones fabricated in bronze with sulfur and phosphorus. Bronze, phosphorus. Those are the typical bearings used on the star motor. The star motor, the shaft of the star motor, release in a couple of bearings, those bearings, bronze bearings. Those are axial bearings, like the axial bearing that we have on the screen right now. Those axial bearings support excessive axial loads. Yes, in your outboard, in the bottom of the gear, in the lower unit, you found it an axial bearing. Or in the transmissions, like the transmission that you have on the screen right now, you have an axial bearing in each end of the main shaft. We are going to study later. There are 3 shafts in a typical transmission: input shaft, output shaft, and lathe shaft. There are angular bearings. You remember those bearings? Those bearings? Yes, the cables for throttle and gear. At the end, they have angular bolts, angular connectors. Those connectors have 360 degrees of rotation, and they are excellent for rod ends, for throttle cables, for gear cables. Yeah, this is a very common, especially in control cables. There are different type of tools used to remove the bearings. In the majority of the cases, you need to use the hydraulic press, using the procedure that you have on the screen right now, in order to remove the bearing. Or you can use extractors. Extractor like the extractor that we have here on the screen, and you have on the main screen another example. Those are the typical extractors. The first one, these ones are used with the hydraulic press, and these ones are usually manually in order to remove bearings. You need to be careful when you remove the bearings. Never apply the force in the external ring, because you destroy the bearing. You need to apply the force in the internal ring, because if you apply the force in the external ring, you destroyed the bearing.